Notice your breathing right now. Take a second to just uh, feel the weight of your shoulders. Are they tense?
Probably a little, yeah.
Right. And how about your jaw? Is it clenched? Well, what if I told you that in the next few minutes, using absolutely nothing but the sound of my voice, I could make your heart rate spike?
Just with your voice.
Just my voice. And, the specific arrangement of the words I'm saying, I could make your palms start to sweat or your stomach completely drop. And I wouldn't need magic to do it. It would just be pure mechanical engineering.
It's, it's honestly kind of unsettling to think about our feelings as something that can be engineered on an assembly line like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we desperately want to believe our emotional responses are, totally organic, just spontaneous reactions to the world around us. But if you look at the entertainment industry,
Oh, Hollywood knows exactly what they're doing. They know it's engineering.
yeah, they treat human emotion like a master switchboard.
Well, welcome to the Dupe Dive. Today, we are taking a really fascinating and maybe slightly terrifying look into a textbook turned manifesto. It's called Writing for Emotional Impact by Karl Iglesias.
It's such a brilliant book.
It really is. And our mission for you today is to uncover the hidden psychological mechanics of how Hollywood actually captivates us. We are not talking about rigid formatting rules or font sizes.
Right, or making sure the inciting incident happens exactly on page 12.
Exactly. We are talking about how writers actively manipulate your nervous system. Iglesias throws this core premise at us right out of the gate, and okay, let's unpack this. He says Hollywood isn't actually in the movie business at all. It is in the emotion delivery business.
Which is a huge paradigm shift. And to understand how this delivery system actually functions, we have to start by categorizing the product.
Right.
Like, what exactly are they delivering? Because it's a lot more complex than just making people feel happy or sad.
So how do they categorize the feelings that actually keep us glued to a screen?
Well, Iglesias points to Alfred Hitchcock for this foundational analogy. Hitchcock famously compared making a movie to playing a massive organ. Like in a cathedral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You press one specific chord and the audience gasps. You press another chord and they chuckle.
That almost sounds clinical, treating the audience like an instrument to be played.
Oh, it is clinical. And there's a specific psychology behind every single chord being played. So Iglesias breaks these chords down into three main categories. The first is our innate curiosity, which he categorizes as voyeuristic emotion.
Okay, wait. Voyeuristic sounds a little, I don't know, a little creepy. What does that mean in a storytelling context?
Well, think about the last true crime documentary you binged.
Guilty.
Right. You aren't watching it to learn the objective facts of police procedure. You are watching it because human beings have a deeply rooted evolutionary need to peek behind closed doors, to observe the taboo or the dangerous.
Oh, I see.
But the crucial psychological mechanism here is distance. We need to observe the danger from a position of absolute safety. It's the safety of the glass wall of make-believe.
So we get the thrill of the great white shark tearing apart a fishing boat in Jaws, but we get to experience it from the dry, air-conditioned safety of a theater seat.
Precisely. You get the thrill without the actual risk. But, curiosity only goes so far. It might keep your eyes on the screen, but it doesn't make you cry.
Right. It doesn't make you actually care.
Exactly. To trigger a deeper physiological reaction, a writer has to basically drag you straight through that glass wall. They have to make the imaginary character's struggle feel indistinguishable from your own. And this is the second chord vicarious emotion.
How does a writer actually do that, though? Because just showing someone being sad on a screen doesn't automatically make me sad. I've watched plenty of crying characters and felt absolutely nothing.
Yeah, to pull it off, the writer has to successfully engage your mirror neurons. This is a biological imperative. If I show you a video of someone getting a paper cut on their eyeball.
Ugh, stop, my eyes are watering just thinking about it.
See? You flinch. You aren't being cut, but your brain simulates the trauma. In storytelling, the writer constructs a scenario so universally human-like, a primal fear of abandonment or a desperate desire for justice, that your brain begins to simulate the character's emotional experience.
So you stop watching the protagonist and subconsciously start, being the protagonist.
Exactly. You identify with them so deeply that their struggle is your struggle.
But there's a massive trap here, because the text has this quote from Gordon Lish that totally stopped me in my tracks. He says, "It's not about what happens to people on a page. It's about what happens to a reader in his heart and mind."
Such a great quote.
It is, because I think about movies where a character is absolutely absolutely bawling their eyes out. Their life is a total tragedy, but I am sitting there completely bored, checking my phone to see what time it is.
Right. And what's fascinating here is that this disconnect is the graveyard of bad scripts. Writers constantly obsess over engineering character emotions.
Instead of the audience.
Yes. They map out the plot and think, if I make the protagonist angry here, the audience will feel angry. But that is entirely backward. The character is entirely fictional. Their feelings don't actually matter.
I see. Think about a classic comedy. A character might be incredibly stressed out, right? His life is falling apart. He's in agonizing social pain. He is absolutely miserable.
But we, the audience, are laughing hysterically.
Exactly. We are experiencing a completely different emotional state than the character on screen.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal. The third chord. Visceral emotion. This is the actual physical reaction in the body of the consumer.
The actual thrills and tension.
Yes, the tension in your shoulders, the literal edge of your seat anxiety, the sudden involuntary burst of laughter. It's the visceral emotion of the person consuming the story that dictates its success, completely independent of what the imaginary person is feeling.
Okay, so I'm stuck on a logistical problem here. If the entire goal of a script is to generate these visceral physical reactions in the audience, how does a writer test that?
What do you mean?
Well, they can't just rent out a multiplex, hand a rough draft to 300 people, and, monitor their heart rates.
No, they can't. The writer has to test it on a single, isolated individual, the Hollywood script reader.
Oh, man. Let me paint a picture of you, the listener's first audience, according to the text, because it is a wildly depressed picture.
It really is the ultimate test.
These script readers are the frontline gatekeepers of a multi-billion-dollar industry. But they are vastly overworked, they are poorly paid, they are chewing through 10, maybe 15 scripts a weekend.
Probably lying in bed or slumped in a recliner.
Exactly, at 2 in the morning. And they are completely jaded because 99% of what they read is pure garbage.
Yet, despite all that exhaustion, they are secretly desperate. They are absolutely desperate to find a script that actually works, to find the one.
Right.
Because they read so much bad material, their tolerance for friction is absolute zero, which introduces a critical concept Iglesias calls the spell.
Like a literal magic spell. Are we
Yeah.
talking hypnosis here?
In a psychological sense, kind of, yes. When you start reading a truly great piece of writing, you enter a trance state. The outside world fades away.
You just get lost in it.
Exactly. You stop processing the text as ink on paper and start experiencing the story as reality. But the microsecond the reader is taken out of that reading experience, the spell breaks.
So if they notice the words.
If they notice the words, if they question the logic, or if they just get bored, the illusion is shattered, the trust is broken, and that script goes straight in the trash.
It's exactly like a magic trick. The moment you see the rabbit stuffed up
Up the sleeve, exactly.
the magic is totally dead. You can't unsee the sleeve. You stop being mesmerized and immediately start analyzing the mechanics of the trick.
Right, which is why Iglesias emphasizes the one-page test. You should be able to open a masterclass script, something like Casablanca or The Silence of the Lambs, to literally any random page and be instantly gripped.
So a script isn't just a technical blueprint.
No, it has to be a highly entertaining blueprint from the very first word.
Okay, but let's be realistic. How do you get that jaded, exhausted reader, the one lying in bed at 2 in the morning, to even want to turn to page 1? Because if the cover page doesn't grab them, the brilliant dialogue on page 50 is completely irrelevant.
That initial hook is entirely reliant on the concept. It all starts with the concept.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Because the text gives us this seemingly impossible oxymoron for the perfect concept. It must be uniquely familiar.
It's a great paradox.
It is. How can something be both unique and familiar at the exact same time?
Well, let's unpack the two halves of this. Let's look at the unique half first. This is the cognitive hook. It must be a fresh situation or a gimmick.
Like a shiny new wrapper.
Exactly. Think about bringing long-dead dinosaurs back to life for a modern theme park in Jurassic Park. Or a slick lawyer magically cursed to tell the absolute truth for 24 hours in Liar Liar. Our brains are hardwired to notice novelty. It demands our attention.
But if a concept is only unique, it just feels kind of weird, right? Like an audience needs a way to process it.
That's where the familiar half comes into play. The emotional core of the story must be universally recognizable. We're talking about human emotions here.
Okay, give me an example of that.
The text points to Pixar's Finding Nemo as a masterclass in this. The unique hook is the setting, exploring the bottom of the ocean through the eyes of a fish. That is a highly unique imaginative world.
But the familiar emotion,
It's a father who is desperately terrified of losing his only son.
because I have absolutely no idea what it's like to be a fish navigating a coral reef, but I absolutely know what parental love and terror feel like.
Exactly. The familiar emotion grounds the unique world. It gives the audience a foothold.
I love that. So I want you, the listener, to just think about your favorite movie for a second. Can you identify the unique hook versus the familiar human emotion that grounds it? It's everywhere once you start looking for it.
It really is the foundational formula.
But what happens if a writer doesn't naturally dream up these massive blockbuster high concept ideas? What if they just have a standard story?
Well, not everyone is naturally going to come up with Jurassic Park, but the source material provides a toolbox for this. Iglesias lists 12 specific, actionable ways to artificially inflate the appeal of a standard idea.
Basically hacking the concept.
Exactly. Hacking it. Let's look at a few of these. Take the contrast environment hack, which most people know as the fish out of water trope.
Oh, dropping a character into a world where they fundamentally do not belong?
Right, like Dorothy dropping into the Wizard of Oz.
Or street smart Axel Foley ending up in Beverly Hills Cop? Why does that specific dynamic work so well on us?
Because it forces constant conflict. It generates fresh reactions and friction in every single scene because they don't know the rules of the environment.
What about the add a second idea hack? The text calls this the classic X meets Y pitch.
Yes, this is a great one. So let's say you have a story about a cop tracking a serial killer.
It's a standard premise, but our brains have seen it 1,000 times.
Right. There's no novelty.
Right.
So you add a second killer who acts as a mentor to the cop.
And suddenly you get the Silence of the Lambs.
Exactly. Or take that same cop tracking a killer idea and add the 7 deadly sins.
Then you get S7.
Yes. You're forcing 2 disparate ideas to collide.
There's another hack the book mentions that I loved. Reversing predictable plots. Say, kidnappers grab a rich man's wife for ransom. The expected reaction is, agony. The husband tries to pay up.
But if you reverse that, the husband is actually delighted. He hates his wife and tells the kidnappers to keep her.
Right, which is the premise of Ruthless People.
It completely violates our expectations, which hooks us.
And we absolutely cannot forget the most visceral hack of all. The ticking clock. Or adding a strict time limit. You have a bomb on a city bus. That's scary.
But if you add the condition that the bomb goes off, the bus drops below 50 miles per hour.
You get speed.
Right. The ticking clock bypasses the brain's logic centers. It triggers a literal fight-or-flight response.
It's like culinary fusion, taking a standard recipe and swapping out one core ingredient for something extreme. The ultimate blank from hell, just to force a new spicy flavor profile.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay, I can clearly see how you use these hacks. You've got your fish out of water gimmick, your ticking clock. You've successfully manipulated the exhausted script reader into opening the cover.
They're hooked.
Right. But a ticking clock isn't going to sustain that psychological spell for 110 pages, is it?
No, it won't. A gimmick alone isn't enough. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the structural foundation beneath all the hacks. And that is theme.
Theme. It always sounded like such an academic word to me.
It does, but theme is the heart and soul of the script. It's the absolute foundation. Once a writer truly knows what their theme is, it dictates every single scene.
So it drives the characters, the dialogue.
Everything. The story is simply a tool to showcase this universal meaning.
Which really brings everything full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You hook the reader with the unique concept, but you sustain them with the familiar theme.
Precisely.
So wrapping this all up, what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've learned that Hollywood isn't selling movies, they're selling packaged emotions.
Yep.
And script readers are these exhausted gatekeepers guarding the vault. And the key to getting past them and getting to us is a uniquely familiar concept built on a rock-solid theme.
It completely changes how you view entertainment.
It really does. Whether you are writing a presentation for work, pitching a new idea, or honestly just choosing a movie for Saturday night, you now know how to look for that emotional hook.
And, leaving you with one final thought to mull over here.
Oh, lay it on me.
We talked about the distinction between character emotions and reader emotions, and how writers have to engineer the reader's visceral reaction, totally independent of the character.
Right, the comedy example where the guy's suffering but we're laughing.
Exactly. Yeah. So if the writer's entire goal is to manipulate the reader's emotions,
Yeah.
What does it say about us that our greatest moments of entertainment often happen when our feelings are completely disconnected from the suffering of the characters on screen?
Oh, wow.
Are we, as the audience, the true voyeurs from hell?
That is a wildly provocative thought to end on, just gleefully watching the chaos from the safety of our theater seats. I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the emotional matrix.
It was a pleasure.
The spell is cast, and we will see you next time.